Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMX Sports with another football video, and today I am going over my final NFL record predictions for each team. I did this multiple times last year throughout the season, and this was going to be my benchmark week for the entire season. I've been doing individual team game records the last couple of weeks. I've been going through each of the divisions, seeing which games I think each team will win and which games I think each team will lose. And although those are generally what I think the record predictions are, I usually go strictly with who I think the better team is in each game. I don't account for upsets. I don't account for how much better a quarterback might be able to get over the course of the season. It's just which team is strictly better. This video intends to give you guys a more general understanding of how I think each team is as a whole based off of record predictions for the whole season. So this is not based off of individual games. This is just because you can't go by individual games. There will be upsets, there will be letdowns, and I think that this will be a better illustration of my opinion of each team's talent. Lowest, of course, we have the Houston Texans. I don't think anyone is expecting much from the Houston Texans this season. They had 4 wins last year. They got rid of J.J. Watt. They got rid of some other ones of their major key players, and Deshaun Watson might not even be starting. If Deshaun Watson doesn't start, I don't see them winning a game. I'd have them going 0-17. At second to last, we have the Detroit Lions. The Lions have been in a bad position for a very long time. They've been going in and out of 7-9 and 3-13 for the last few seasons, and they just switched quarterbacks from Matthew Stafford to Jared Goff. I think that Goff and Stafford are in very similar similar ability levels, but overall, I think that Matthew Stafford is a slightly better quarterback, and Goff is going to be put into a new system with not great players surrounding him. I just don't see the Lions doing anything next year. At 3-14, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. This is very similar to the record last year, which I believe was 3-12-1. I might be incorrect on that, though, so don't quote me on that. I think that their team didn't change much at all. I think that the change from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts isn't going to impact their team much at all. I think that Jalen Hurts could be a decent quarterback on a different team, but the Eagles' offensive and defensive players just aren't strong enough for a basically effectively first-year quarterback to come in and change how their team runs. At 4-13, I have the Falcons, the Jets, and the Panthers. I just don't believe in any of these teams. That's just the bottom line. Sam Darnold has played 3 seasons with the Jets. He went 5-12, 7-9, and last year they had 2 wins. I don't see Sam Darnold being anything impressive this year with the Panthers, and I don't see his previous team, the Jets, being anything impressive with their new quarterback, Zach Wilson. The Jets have no room for improvement on their team. They have no talent on their offense. They have 0 talent on their defense. And I think that Zach Wilson will be the only redeeming quality of that team, which will bring them up a couple games from last year. As for the Falcons, they still don't have a defense. The Panthers also still don't have a defense. Their offenses can do whatever they want. McCaffrey can go off. Mike Davis can go off. These teams are all very interconnected. They have a lot of similar players to the other ones in their division. They've gotten a lot of players from each other. Robbie Anderson from the Jets is now on the Panthers. They've just been trading each other's players to each other, and they've all just been staying at the 5-11 range. I think that none of them will do anything impressive this year. At 5-12, we have the Raiders and the Giants. I honestly want to believe the Giants will do better than this. I honestly really want to believe the Giants will do better than this. I want to believe Danny Dimes will have an amazing season and go off. I want to believe that this Giants defense will come back the same as it was last year and be even stronger this year. I just don't see it happening. I haven't seen any big enough differences in the team other than a healthy Saquon this year to make me believe that they have a chance of beating Dallas for the division. I think that they might have 6 or 7 wins, but I just don't see this team being a big improvement from what it's been the last 3 seasons. Even Wayne Gallman played similar to what we saw from Saquon. Of course, he wasn't Saquon's level, but the running backs that they had last year still did a decent job, and they still weren't able to produce. As for the Raiders, I think the Raiders taking a step back from last year. Last year, Derek Carr had a great start to the season, and then he went back to being Derek Carr, and they lost the last 8 out of 10 games of the season. That's just what, Derek Carr just hasn't impressed me in any season of his career except for that one year that he had 11 wins and got injured before the playoffs. So these two teams are teams that I think are going to take a step back from last year. 6 and 11, we have Washington, we have the Broncos, we have the Bengals, and we have the Jaguars. 2 of these teams are taking a step back from last year. 2 of these teams are taking a step up from last year. We have the Bengals and Jaguars taking a step up. The Bengals have a full season of Joe Burrow, hopefully. Hopefully he'll be able to get acclimated to the team. The only reason why I don't have them higher is because they're against some tough opponents this year. They're against the AFC North and the NFC North. Their division's one of the toughest. It's the second hardest in football, and they're up against the third hardest in football. As for the Jaguars are in a arguably easier division, but their team just sucks. Trevor Lawrence it's similar to the Jets, but I think Trevor Lawrence is a couple games better than Zach Wilson. I think that Trevor Lawrence will get a few extra wins for this team, but their team is just so bad that it's not going to be a one-year transformation. It's not going to be, you have the magic quarterback, you're good. It's not a one-year transformation. They'll need to lead up. I think the Jaguars could be good in a couple of years, but not this year. As for Washington and the Broncos, both of these teams have very strong defenses, but they don't have offenses. Antonio Gibson is going to be a year older. He had a great season last year. He'll have a great season this year. But Ryan Fitzpatrick being the starting quarterback, Washington hasn't had any success outside of Alex Smith for the last 3 seasons. Alex Smith had an average of 11-5 as the Washington football team quarterback. And when Alex Smith wasn't playing, they were god awful. As their quarterback, he was 6-4 his first season. He was injured all of 2019, and he was 5-1 his second season. Last year, he was 5-1, and the rest of the team was 2-8. His first year on the team, he was 6-4, and the rest of the team was 1-5. The year in between, they had 3 or 4 wins. They just can't function without Alex Smith, so this will be a recovery year for them. As for the Broncos, they have the same quarterback situation. We'll see how Teddy Bridgewater does. I think that the Broncos have more potential than any of the other teams here because they have a strong defense and they have Teddy Bridgewater, a hopefully promising quarterback that's been tossed around a little bit. At 7 and 10, we have the Colts and the Bears. The Colts, the only reason why they're down here is because of their quarterback situation. Again, most of the bad teams are either because they don't have a team or they don't have a quarterback. They either have a team or a quarterback. They don't have both. The Colts have a team. With any half decent quarterback, they would be a winning record team, potentially playoff team. But they don't have a quarterback. I don't trust Carson Wentz, especially not an injured Carson Wentz. And I don't trust Jacob Eason, a late round first or second round pick. As for the Bears, they're the Bears. They always hover around that 500 mark, but they never do anything impressive. And I think that with a rookie quarterback, they're going to have an okay season this year. But I think that the Bears are looking in the long term. I think that Justin Fields will be a long-term solution for them, not a short-term solution. The Bears will be good in a couple of years. Vikings are in a similar situation. Actually, the Vikings are in a weird situation. They had a really good team last year, and they just didn't do well. They had one of the best offenses in the NFL last year, and they just did terrible with it. They did nothing with it. They had one of the best offenses in the league. They went 7-9. I haven't seen too many major improvements to their defense to think that they'll have a top 10 defense this year, even a top 15 defense. I think that if they have a top 20 defense, then they might be able to go 9-8. But again, they have a tough schedule playing the AFC North, and I think that it'll be hard for them. I think that their team is better than an 8-9 record, but their schedule inhibits them from doing much better than that. At 9-8, I have the Dolphins, the Saints, and the Steelers. All three of these teams are in very similar situations. They all have phenomenal defenses, and they all have questionable offenses. The Dolphins' offense is questionable because Tua, we didn't see much of him last year, but what we did see wasn't very impressive. He won most of his games based off of his defense, and his offense had one of the lowest, had some of the worst stats in the league. As for the Saints, Drew Brees is gone. Enough said. They did well the last couple of seasons with their backup quarterbacks being Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill, but with Jameis Winston as the starter, we've never seen him as the starter for the Saints before. And Jameis Winston doesn't really have a history of having a winning record. As for the Steelers, they threw the ball way too much last year, and they regretted it. Najee Harris is now part of their offense. Hopefully, if they can figure out how to run the football, then they'll do well. But I'm not too keen on putting them much higher than 9-8 until I see what their offense can do. At 10-7, I have the Patriots and the 49ers. These two teams, very similar situations. Great defenses, phenomenal defenses, especially the secondary. But their offense is questionable, mostly because last year the 49ers' whole team was injured, and the Patriots didn't have an offense. Their offense was non-existent. Now this year, the Patriots have picked up some really great rookies. They've picked up two top 10 tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's a veteran. Jonnu Smith's the younger player. Both of them are phenomenal. We've also collected a couple of good wide receivers, and we have a new quarterback in Mac Jones. So both of these teams, it'll be interesting to see how the Patriots' new offense clicks and how the 49ers' offense comes back from injury. At 11-6, we have the Seahawks, the Titans, and the Cowboys. I think that this is pretty fair for all these teams. I think some people have the Cowboys slated lower because of their defensive issues. I personally think that Dak Prescott is going to be able to carry this team to an 11-6 record. Dak Prescott has had a very strong showing in his career so far. I believe he's somewhere in the realm of 60 to 70% win percentage. So I think that this will go along with that nicely. Around 2/3, like 60 something, like 63%, I think is 11/17. But anyways, all three of these teams have great offenses and absolute trash defenses, like absolutely god awful defenses. So all of these tiers have some sort of a theme. This theme is amazing offenses and absolute garbage defenses. Tennessee made the playoffs with one of the worst defenses to ever make the playoffs last year. They were ranked like 24th. Seattle started off with an amazing offense and terrible defense, and then slowly turned up to an average offense and an average defense and started losing more games. Dallas had a 3-2 record, and then Dak Prescott got injured. So I think that all these teams will be about the same as last year, except Dallas will obviously improve because Dak Prescott. At 12-5, we have the Rams, the Ravens, and the Browns. These teams all have rank number 10 offenses and rank number 10 defenses. Rams had the best defense in the league last year. The Rams had arguably the best defense in the league last year. The Ravens were arguably number 5. Browns were somewhere in the 15 range. I think the Browns defense improved. I think that the Rams defense probably stayed maybe went a little bit lower, maybe because other teams passed them, but their ability stayed the same. As for the Ravens defense is always a top 10. These teams are just all really solid teams. I don't expect any of them to be considerably better than 12-5, but I can see the Ravens or Rams potentially having higher records. The Rams obviously are in a really tough division, so that's going to inhibit their ability to do well. And the Ravens have a tough schedule being in their division and being against the NFC North. That's why the Ravens, Browns, and again, this is opposition. Like a lot of the reasons why these teams I have at 12-5 instead of 13-4 is because of their opposition. They have harder schedules than other teams. But I still think that these are all very strong potential Super Bowl contenders. At 13-4, we have the split sides. We have the already established, very strong teams, and my 2 wild card picks as Super Bowl contenders. I have the Cardinals and Chargers as my 2 picks, one from the AFC and one from the NFC, as wild card contenders for the Super Bowl this season. I think that both the Cardinals and the Chargers have the team to be able to make the Super Bowl based off of what they did last year. Both of those teams were middle of the pack last year. Cardinals were 8-8. And the Chargers were 7-9, but the Cardinals started off very strong, and the Chargers finished off very strong. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of the starting and finishing strong than we will of the reverse this year. The Cardinals made a lot of very strong moves on defense, as well as acquiring A.J. Green to add to an already impeccable offense, and James Conner to add to depth at the running back position, which they already have. The Chargers, their offense just got better. Justin Herbert's going to be 1 year older. Most quarterbacks have some of their best seasons in their second year, usually winning Super Bowls or MVPs. So I think that both of those teams will be strong. As for the Packers and Bills, it's the Packers and Bills, enough said. They did great last year, they'll do great this year. And at 15-2, we have last year's Super Bowl. We have the Buccaneers and we have the Chiefs. I think that 15-2 is a reasonable record. I think that it's unreasonable to predict any team to go 17-0. And I think that it's unreasonable to try and predict which one of these teams is better. Kansas City obviously has a more high-powered offense. The Buccaneers obviously have a much more conservative defense that does really good at containing the opponent. And so I think that that's a really interesting matchup. As we saw in the Super Bowl last year, the Bucs ended up winning that game. But that's one game out of, however, like if they played 100 games, who knows who would have won more. But that being said, I think both of these teams will consistently win this year coming up. The Bucs will have already established their team. They'll do better in the regular season than they did last year, and I think 15-2 is reasonable for both of these teams. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, smash subscribe, comment down below what you guys think of my predictions and what videos you guys want to see me do throughout the season. I have a couple series in mind of things that I want to do. I obviously won't be able to get to all of them or consistently do all of them every week because I have school, but I will try to get as many videos out to you guys as I can because I really do like making these for you. So yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.